These are two of the fastest gaming laptops that Acer and Asus offer. The ROG Strix G16 and the Acer Predator Helios Neo 16 AI Max Plus Deluxe. They have very similar specs, but which one is the better laptop? Let's find out. And please like and subscribe if you like these type of videos. From the outside, they are both going for a gamer aesthetic, but nothing too crazy. The Predator has this RGB logo on the back, while the Strix has... okay, maybe a full RGB strip is very gamery. These are both not very stealthy. They both do have a metal top lid, which makes them feel very sturdy while closed, but unfortunately everything else is made of plastic. They do still feel like well-built laptops, but the Strix is definitely built a little better, since it flexes a lot less. Now these are both gaming laptops, so they have lots of cooling inside, which definitely doesn't make them thin and light. The Strix is slightly thicker and the Predator is slightly heavier, but the difference really is minimal. But they are gonna need that cooling, because they both have the fastest current laptop chips from both Intel and AMD, as well as an RTX 5070 Ti. They both have the maximum wattages for these GPUs, so neither one should be limited in that area. But their CPUs are pretty different. They're both incredibly fast, but Intel and AMD have their own way of making processors work. The Predator has higher spec GPU options as well though, while the Strix gets capped out at a 5070 Ti. If you want a 5080 on the G16, that's only available on the newer models with an Intel chip. For their port selections, the Predator definitely wins. It's got an extra USB-A port, a micro SD card slot, and even some ports on the back. But its brick is quite a bit heavier. It comes with a 330 watt charger, which is quite a bit more than the Strix. They can both be charged through USB-C as well though, so a smaller charger for on the go is a possibility. Now onto their keyboards. They do both have RGB backlights, but while the Predator only has 4 RGB zones, the Strix has per key RGB, so you've got a lot more cool looking lighting options. Here's how the keys themselves compare. The Strix is more clicky and has slightly longer key travel, which takes a bit more force to press down. While the Predator has lighter keys with less key travel and are a bit quieter. Honestly, they both feel very nice and comfortable to type on. The Strix has 5 macro keys at the top here, which could be pretty handy. But the Predator has a physical numpad on the side, which some people cannot live without. But the Strix also kind of has a numpad, for which we need to go to its trackpad. These two are both about the same size, but the Strix's is made of glass, while the Predator's is made of plastic. The Predator really feels quite good, but this does make the Strix feel a bit more premium. But in terms of actual clicks, I actually prefer the feeling and sound of the Predator's trackpad. But the Strix also has a built-in numpad. By clicking this button in the corner, a couple of LEDs turn on under the trackpad, and now it functions as a touch-based numpad. Yes, it's a bit gimmicky, and it's not gonna feel better than an actual physical numpad, but it's definitely better than nothing. Moving on to their displays, these are very similar. With them both being 2.5K 240Hz IPS panel, this is about as good as it gets for LCDs. Games look incredibly smooth at 240Hz, with them both having really good pixel response times, and colors are also really nice. But the Predator has a slightly punchier, more vibrant color profile, so it looks a bit nicer. But then the Strix has way better looking blacks, so they are trading blows here. Neither of these are OLEDs though, so you will get slight backlight bleeding in the dark, and the Strix has way less backlight bleeding than the Predator, which is probably why the blacks look better. They both technically go up to 500 nits, but the Predator actually looks a lot brighter, almost like it reaches 600. And they also both have matte display coatings, which means reflections are handled well, but you do get some glare. However, I think that the Strix gets a slightly better coating, since it doesn't get as much glare. It definitely looks better in sunlight. Neither of their hinges go back a full 180 degrees, but the Predator does go further. They both feel very sturdy though, meaning you can easily open them up with one hand, and neither of them has any kind of wobble. They're very sturdy hinges. But what about speaker quality? Most manufacturers cheap out on this part, because most people use headphones anyways. So how do they compare? Well, the Predator sounds quite a bit better. It has a lot more clarity and just a broader soundstage, but it's a bit lacking in terms of bass. The Strix does have slightly more bass and gets a lot louder, but it just sounds very muffled and muddled. Even though the Predator only has downfiring speakers, while the Strix has both downfiring and front-firing ones, it just sounds considerably better. And this is also pretty clear while playing games. Their webcams look about the same, but the Predator has a slightly wider lens and is a little bit sharper. Both of their microphones are also pretty good, definitely good enough for web conferencing. And now for the most important part, performance. They both have an RTX 5070 Ti, but also both the fastest current processors from both AMD and Intel. So which one is faster? Well, in Cinebench R23, the Intel chip slightly beats the AMD one in single-core performance, but in multi-core, it's the other way around. And the 9955HX3D is basically the fastest CPU on any laptop. But in 3D Mark TimeSpy, they have the same GPU, so obviously they perform very similarly, with the Predator being ever so slightly faster. But these are just benchmarks. We need to see how they perform in mixed CPU and GPU workloads. And they are gaming laptops after all, so let's play some actual games.
No, you... Paco, you are cheating. The last one is...
I'll hack you to pieces. Ha! You'll never take me down.
What did you do, man? No!
So while both of these are awesome at gaming, the Strix is actually a bit faster. In both CPU and GPU intensive games, the Strix consistently got more than 10% higher FPS than the Predator, even though they have almost identical GPUs. But in a very CPU intensive game like Rust, it beats the Predator by almost 50%, which is just crazy. And that shows very well why the 9955HX3D is the current fastest gaming chip. The Ultra 9 is very fast, don't get me wrong. But with more performance cores and a lot more cache on the Ryzen 9, it's got quite the advantage. And in games that actually utilize that extra cache, like in Rust, it got a massive performance boost compared to the Ultra 9. But how can it be faster in GPU-intensive games as well? Well, because the Ultra 9 uses a lot more power in heavy workloads than the Ryzen 9, which frees up more power headroom for that 5070 Ti. Which means that in basically every game, that 3D chip is going to be a little or a lot faster. But what about thermals? Because they're both very thick laptops, so can they cool those powerful components well? Well, they definitely can. Both the Strix and the Predator managed to keep their CPU and GPU well below thermal limits, and neither one of them got even close to thermal throttling. But what about fan noise? Both of them stay completely silent under light workloads though. Now, gaming laptops are not known for their stellar battery life, but it is nice to know how long one would last in an emergency situation. So I tested their battery life in two scenarios, under light use and during gaming. In the light use test, I played a YouTube video until both of their batteries died, with their displays at 80% brightness, at 60 Hz, and with their dedicated GPU turned off. And obviously, neither one of them is gonna last very long, but the Predator did last a little longer. Since their CPUs both don't really have any kind of low power efficiency cores, these chips use a lot of power on battery, which isn't so great for battery life. In the gaming test, I played Battlefield 1 until their batteries died, with the same settings as before. And gaming laptops are not really made for this. Please just get a gaming handheld if you want to play games on the go. But what about upgradeability? Because these are both very thick gaming laptops, so do they have the space for modular components? Luckily, they do. They both have two SODIMM slots, so RAM upgrades are definitely possible. They both have two M.2 SSD slots as well, so storage upgrades are nice and easy. And they even have Wi-Fi card slots, which could be handy in the future. So if you want a laptop with 96 GB of RAM, both of these guys can do it. But now comes the biggest deciding factor. How much do these two cost? Well, in most parts of the world, you actually can't even find the HX3D version of the Strix G16, only the regular 9955HX one. This is only a little bit slower though, and it's still a very good laptop, although it's pretty expensive in Europe. The Predator 16 is about the same price in Europe, so these two are actually priced very competitively. But in America and on the global Amazon page, the Strix with that 3D chip is available and priced very similarly. But in America, the Predator is way cheaper, like a grand cheaper, for almost the same exact specs. So depending on where you live, the Predator is probably a way better deal. I'll put the Amazon links for both of these in the description down below. Which brings us to our conclusion. Which one of these laptops is more worth it? The Strix G16 or the Predator 16? Well, it really depends on how they're priced, really. If you live in America, the Predator is almost $1,000 cheaper than the Strix G16, and that is an incredible deal. But in the rest of the world, the Strix G16 is a lot more available and probably priced better than the Predator. Look, disregarding the prices, that AMD chip in the Strix G16 does make it a better laptop than the Predator 16 in my opinion. It has the fastest gaming CPU in a laptop right now, and in most games, that's enough to warrant quite a big performance increase. But is that worth $1,000 more than the Predator 16? No, you can get a 5080 laptop for that price. These two are both about as good in terms of general laptop stuff. The Strix just has a slightly better display coating, while the Predator has slightly better speakers. So if these two are priced the exact same, get the Strix, because it simply is a faster laptop. But if you can find the Predator for at least $300 less than the Strix, I would go with the Predator. Look, these are both really good gaming laptops, and you're not going to be disappointed by either one of them. Now let me give a huge shout out to my YouTube members. Soundwife, Thomas, Inky, Mr. Frosty Dude, Dropzone1, Martijn Snijkers, Flimsy, Aki, Disco Volante, Mr. Nuke, Sebastian, Christian Sands, Real Elf, Eric the Rad, Wesley Rhodes, Michael, Ghost Data, Anu Guitar, Abdullah, and Madepeace. If you become a YouTube member, you get early access to content of mine, a shout out at the end of every video, and you'll also be supporting me as a creator to make these videos. And of course, you'll also be part of the Cool Guys Club, so you can use cool emojis like these in the comment section. So join the club if you're interested, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.
No mames, se va hasta el carro, güey.